Alright guys, so I've got quite a few requests or just questions in general about this UltraGauge, so I figured I'd just do a video on it and show you guys how it works here. Um, so to start with, it's pretty basic. It's just got an up and down arrow on the back side and a menu button. The menu is also the enter button, and that's about all there is to set it up. So it does make it a little time consuming to go through pages and stuff like that. But I guess to go over it, to start with the downsides, the biggest thing for me when I saw it, it says made in America, and that was a big plus for me. But once I got reading into it, it's actually patented in America, but it's manufactured in China, so it does have the cheaper feeling buttons and stuff on the back. But nonetheless, it is a pretty cheap and easy option for a lot of these swaps. One of the biggest downsides though is the refresh rate, and I'll show you guys that once I start it up. But it's a second or two before you're going to get another update. And so if you're especially in like a manual transmission or wanting to get up to red line quick and shift, you're not going to be able to see it right away. So that's one of the biggest downsides, I would say. The other thing is you can only use gauges that go through the original ECU. So for my swaps with the Volkswagen, it has to be a Volkswagen gauge that the Volkswagen ECU was seeing. So for instance, this doesn't come with oil pressure on the Volkswagen, so there's no way to add that to this gauge. Same thing with your exhaust temperature. I mean, the other thing is it's simple because it plugs into the OBD port, but it also is plugging it up. So if you ever go to do tuning and stuff, or if you're doing a bunch of updates to your tune and logging and stuff, you're going to be unplugging this thing every time. So that can get annoying. Other than that though, it does offer, as you saw at the beginning, for this most of the Volkswagen ECUs, it's going to come up with 43 gauges that it can see or request. I mean, you can see the display is nice and clear. It's perfect for in the daytime, and it's just bright enough at night. I haven't even adjusted it or anything, and you can go through all that stuff in the menu. But it's a pretty sweet all-in-one package to give you a lot of the gauges that you're looking for in a swap, especially if you don't need the precise RPMs. Being able to plug this in and not try to find an RPM signal for these diesels makes it really easy. So going into the menu here, you select the menu button, hold it down, and I was gonna go through everything in here, but there is a ton of stuff to go through. Just for the basics here, you can check and clear codes. You don't really need to plug in a code reader for just simple stuff. You can check it on the fly if you got an overboost code or something, and usually we're sitting there turning the key off to reset it so we can get home. You can go ahead and clear it right in here as long as you can get to the buttons to go through it. You can set up alarms for high temperature, the type of tone. It's got all kinds of options in there. You can set up your vehicle to help it. It can try to track mile per gallon. It's probably even less accurate than the dummy gauges for MPG on most vehicles. So I guess if you wanted to mess with that, you could, but I don't really see it. That I'm always hand calculating it anyway. And that also is once you set up your vehicle, you have a whole set of fuel menu options there as well. But I'm basically going to go over the gauge page and menu. So you can zero all these averages to start with, but there's about, I can't remember how many different page display format here. So you can have 4, 6, or 8 gauges on each page, and you can have, I think it's 7 pages of gauges. Now, I guess if you weren't wanting to monitor everything all at the same time, you could switch pages and all that, but for me I pretty much just set it up on page 1, and you can also set up how long each page stays on. If you want to advance pages and go through it, it can cycle through all the pages of gauges you can look at. So there's just a ton of options in here. But for me, going back to my page here, I prefer this 6 gauge page. There's really, I mean, you could add a few more if you want to, but I like having the RPMs and the engine temperature bigger. And I can show you here, if you go and set gauge page, we'll set page 1 to 8, and you're going to get all the gauges. You'll have 2 more at the bottom if you select them, and they're going to be just smaller, which if you want to look at 8 gauges is a pretty sweet option. You can pretty much see everything there. And so I'll go ahead and do that. Go back to my 6, and then if I go here, you can actually set the pages. You can set page 1 gauges. That's where it gets a little confusing here. So you scroll back and next, and then you can go down to each of the different settings on there, and then you'll scroll through. If you're on next, you'll scroll through the pages of gauges, so you can see I've got RPM. Now, another thing that would help with like the mile per gallon settings is if we had an accurate speed sensor, but most of these swaps, we're just pretty much getting any kind of a speed so that we can set the cruise. And so like mine is probably saying I'm going 50 mile per hour down the highway, so it really doesn't do any good to look at that, but it is an option, especially if it's still in a car, or if you have the speed sensor calculated correctly. But almost every sensor has Fahrenheit and Celsius, PSI and kPa, so we can just go through and see all the options here. There's throttle positions. You can see how long you've been driving with the check engine light on. A lot of weird stuff that you wouldn't really necessarily want to see, but they can kind of calculate horsepower and torque based off the stuff you put in for the engine size and load and everything. And again, there's the mile per gallon and stuff like that. Brake horsepower. So this is the part I wanted you to really see though. It's confusing when you're in here. So I've got these set as RPM is 1, coolant temp is 2, engine load is 3. It kind of goes in order, left to right, and then up and down. And if you want to set different ones, so like if I wanted this intake pressure to be number 4, I would go to it with the up and down, hit the menu button, then I would scroll up. So like if I wanted it as number 4, I'd hit enter. But if I hit it as number 1, it will override what I had previously set. It took away the RPM. So you really got to be careful when you're setting this up, or you end up setting stuff to stuff you don't want. So you got to go back to there, change it to 1, and then select it again. And so you go through like that and just set up your 1 through 6 or 1 through 8, however you want to do it. But that gets your gauges set up, so when you go back, you can see them there. As far as a swap goes, and these Volkswagens, having your boost, which it actually is reading atmospheric pressure, so if you're not at sea level, it's not going to read quite right, but it's pretty close, and it's way easier than plumbing in a boost gauge, so that's pretty sweet. Your intake air temperature is pretty hard to get a sensor for. or at least this makes it a super easy option. And then I've got the engine load just so you can kind of see how you're doing if you want to try to get better fuel mileage, keeping your engine load down. And your voltage, engine temperature, and RPM, those are what I've got here, so you can see when I fire it up here. So you can kind of see how slow everything updates, and I'll just rev it up here. You can see how long it takes for it to update. But it does give you everything, and like I say, if you're okay with the refresh rate, it's a pretty sweet option for a plug-and-play display. I mean, it's honestly pretty hard to even set up like a tablet or a phone, setting it up and mounting it in the dash. You're gonna almost spend $80 on that as well. I mean, you might do it cheaper, but it's pretty nice that this is set up. You don't have to worry about charging it or anything like that. And honestly, Bluetooth connections aren't that great. I have one that I use for checking codes and stuff, and it just it errors out on me a lot. So this thing has been pretty fail-safe. And obviously you set it up to turn on when you start it up, and then it turns off as soon as it sees the voltage drop. So yeah, anyway, it's a pretty cool unit, and they have quite a few options for mounting, but this is what I did in this Chevy for now. We're not really sure how we're going to finish the gauge on there, but we may do a whole custom dash on it. But for now, it's pretty sweet. You fire it up, it takes a couple seconds, and then there it is. So there you have it. Thanks for watching, guys.